What's up, everybody? We are back with another Cop the Week. It wouldn't be Monday night without Cop the Week. The first one of 2020. And right down below me, I can see the 2022
2020.
version, I should say, of Mr. Steve Bland. I was rewinding the clock there. I was reeling in the years, Steve.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, mate, and to everybody watching and listening as well.
And same to you, my man. Same to you. You were just you stayed out late. Half one. You were up to on New Year's Eve, Steve.
Well, I'm not one of those people. A lot of people these days are like, no, I hate New Year's Eve. I'll be in bed by 10 or whatever. I like it. I think it's a nice opportunity to celebrate and a bit of Jules Holland,
Yes.
bit of whatever the BBC are doing. The fireworks in London. I love all that. So yeah, we were up until late, and even Freddie's only 6, but my other half, Amy, her brother and his kids were over, and his kids are a similar age, so they just all basically kept each other occupied, and then he went to bed ridiculously late, and I think we're still paying for it now. But yeah, it was good fun. Good fun.
We love that. Mr. Crosby, by the way, was out and about. He was in France. He was at the Eiffel Tower for New Year's Eve, Steve.
Whoa, Billy, big time.
Oh, very no nice. Messing about there.
Very nice.
Fresh negative antigen test in his back pocket and all, ready to fly home. He was loving life that night.
Beautiful.
Mr. Murphy, happy 2022 to you, sir. Anything exciting happening your New Year's Eve?
Nothing much, just a standard old night in. Just happy enough just to ring in the new year, COVID free and safe and healthy, and
absolutely
we go again,
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I'm glad to see the back of 2021, but Christmas has come, Steve. January sales are out there. You're wondering, what will I spend all this Christmas money on? Oh, Santa's claimed he's been really good. He's left you vouchers or whatever, a little bit of cash. There's no better place to spend it, Steve, than Manscaped.
You know what, Craig? Before you go into Manscaped, I actually was bemoaning my lack of Manscaped products the other day. I went a little bit short on the old beard the other day, and I actually almost took it right down to skin, because the clippers I was using were clearly not functional, not adequate for the job. And so I need some of that Manscaped love.
You do. And you know what? When you're finished trimming and the beard and all, and Paddy will let you know about this as well, since he's the man with the cologne. They now have a cologne, Steve.
Oh, beautiful.
It's beautiful stuff. It really is.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get 20% off and free shipping with our discount code WFM20. And as my son loves to remind his grandparents, and I'm not even joking, your balls will thank you. He goes around saying it all the time now, Steve. You read it on the back of my T-shirt that was on the radiator drying out, my Manscaped T-shirt, and he keeps going around saying your balls will thank you.
His teachers will have something to say about that.
Yeah, hopefully they'll say, what was that discount code again, Lucas? WFM20, you'd say, was it?
What does that mean, Lucas? Yeah, no, don't tell him.
Yeah, we won't get into that one. Yeah, what does that mean? We definitely won't get into that one. Look, gents, I mean, we've loads to talk about. We'll chat transfers, we'll chat everything else. But first and foremost, Steve, what's your reaction to the game yesterday, as COVID restricted as we were, I suppose?
It was a weird one, wasn't it? Because, before and then in the kind of time from before the game to after the game, I went through all the emotions of like thinking we had to win, thinking we were going to win, thinking that we definitely weren't going to win, and then actually by the end being not too disappointed that we'd got a point, because I could see it turning second half, and I mean even when we were 2-up, we were never in control of the game, really, were we? It was always a scrap. It was a great game, we should say, shouldn't we? It was a end to end, both teams going for it, loads of quality, good goals, some pretty shaky defending on both sides, some pretty glaring deficiencies shown up, I thought, in terms of options off the bench, but also the midfield just didn't look right. It was sort of going back to 2 or 3 years ago in a couple of respects, wasn't it? Because going back to that, that when we used to, every big game we had, we'd roll out the Wijnaldum, Henderson, Milner, functional midfield, and that you knew that game would play, that midfield would play every single time it was a City or a big Champions League game or whatever. And then in another respect, it was similar to 3 years ago, because it would the game had no control. We weren't 2-0 up, and actually the Liverpool of the title winning season would have closed that game out, no question. because they had the ability to kill games off, and they, but going back a bit before that, we lost the control. And I think, had we had Thiago, I think he would have been, he's brought in to basically give you that control, isn't he? To keep the ball under pressure, to calm the game down a little bit, to have, that radar of what's going on around him. And but all in all, I know everyone's saying it's a must-win game, etc., but it's never a bad point at Stamford Bridge, is it? And
no,
I think,
it's not.
And I think City have got Chelsea next, haven't they? I think, and I'm not a doom and gloom monger. I don't think it's all done and dusted just yet. We've got to go to the Etihad. They've got to go to. They've got to play Chelsea. And things can happen. Injuries can happen. There's a big lottery with COVID at the moment. They could lose a couple of people. They lose, Edison and Diaz, for example, and through COVID for a couple of games, and it changes everything. So, I'm not doom and gloom just yet. You win our game in hand. It's 8 points, and it's not the end of the world just yet.
Paddy, have you reflected? Have you had time to look back over the Man United challenge? Because I must have watched this 50 times yesterday to try and see Chris's perspective, and I still can't see it.
I think, as I said yesterday, it was a lot down to the timing of the challenge as well. I feel like later on in the game, perhaps it could have been a red. Was the challenge itself a red? Yeah, I think so. I've come around to the idea that it is, yeah. But I just think it was never going to be given, though, because it was the first few seconds and it would have totally altered the game. And I don't think the ref wanted that pressure from the get-go, But it was a red challenge, I'll be honest.
Yeah, what gets me about it, gents, is I heard a couple of people saying, but he was looking at the ball like peripheral vision doesn't exist.
No, I when I first saw it, I was given the benefit of the doubt, and I've watched it a couple more times since today. And it's, it's not one of the ones where he jumps. He actually makes an action. I'm not saying he's gone to go for him, but he makes the arm goes back. It's not you.
That's what
got
got me
jumping
as well.
like that. You're not jumping like that. His arm actually goes back. So we could have had absolutely no complaints if he'd have gone for that first minute or 80th minute or whatever. I think no complaints at all if he'd have gone for that. But I thought. I would have been a dead soft one, but I thought Mason Mount was a bit lucky second half as well, because he definitely had a little kick out on.
I think, I have to say, in real time when I watched that one, I thought, oh, hello, he could be in trouble. But when I watched it back, the more I look at it, it looks more like he grabbed hold of his leg and he was just trying to shake his leg out.
Oh, it's nothing. I mean, it's nothing. It's not that I want to see a sending off for that, but I thought once they looked at it again, it could have been, could easily have been. But it's never a bad point. There was a big moment, wasn't there, when Chalobah made that challenge on Salah at 2-0. If that had gone 3, that would have been an awful lot different. And then not long after the mad 5 minutes at the end of the first half, because it wasn't really great defensively, was it, towards the end? I watched that the Kovacic goal again, and I thought, actually, he was fantastic, by the way. Not even just the goal; his whole game is brilliant.
It was. Did you see the piece, Steve, last night in Match of the Day, where they showed basically their 2-man midfield bossing our 3-man midfield, and it was true. I thought Kovacic and Kante were fantastic.
Oh, definitely they were, and Kante will basically play like he's two people anyway, isn't he? He's just got an energy like I've not seen before, and disappointing to lose a 2-0 lead, but a point away at Chelsea is never a bad result, I don't think.
No, it's not. I agree. Paddy, do you know what I was proud of yesterday, and then I got a little bit annoyed by something. So I was proud of Queeveen for a great performance. I thought he played really, really well. Don't think he could have done that with the goals. But then I went over to the Echo, as I tend to do after games, to see what the feeling is. And I was shocked to see that they gave him a 7 in their match rating. I don't know what more the lad could have possibly done. I thought Queeveen kind of had a great game yesterday. I can think back to the Pulisic one at his feet where he did really well to get down to it, and a couple of other really good saves that he made. So, I thought it was a bit stingy for Mr. Gorst in his player ratings.
Yeah, I think he had a great game. I think he done what was asked of him. He was commanding. He done everything perfectly, and he couldn't have done anything for the 2 goals in no world. I think 7's very harsh. I would have given him at least an 8.
I mean, there is a couple of things I wanted to talk about, gents, and Let me just run an idea past you, and we'll start with you, Steve, being the most rational one of all of us. So it's not Bellingham. Don't worry, mate. This is far more realistic.
Go on,
So right now, I'm looking at the Liverpool squad, and I'm looking at Jordan Henderson in particular, and I'm a little bit worried because I love our captain, love him to death. But I think it would be fair at the end of this season to give him the Milner role and say, look, he's not going to be a starter every week. He's not. He's going to be an impact player. He's going to be able to come in and play games and play 30 games a season. But I think we need to start looking for a new midfield now. I think it's time.
I think there was an argument. There was a midfield that started the game at Leeds, wasn't there, of Fabinho, Thiago, and Harvey Elliott. And I think we spoke at the time, around that kind of time, and we were thinking, the way that Harvey Elliott had started the season, he was in there on merit, wasn't he? He wasn't there on anything else. He was there because he was fantastic every game. And I think that there was an argument that Harvey Elliott was coming in off the right hand side. We'd seen Henderson sort of playing off the left a little bit, and you're not looking right. And then Thiago came back, and that was the midfield that started in the Leeds game. And there's an argument for saying that possibly Henderson might not have been an automatic starter. I don't think there's any danger Klopp will leave him out. Klopp absolutely loves him, and I think he values. You can tell. By bringing in Milner, you can tell exactly what he wants. He wants leaders on the pitch, doesn't he? And I don't think there's any danger that he'll bin off Henderson anytime soon. But yeah, I'm a bit. It's a funny one, the midfield, because I see we're not short on numbers, are we? It's just we're short on someone stepping up. Naby Keita stepping up and being the player that we know he can be. Oxlade-Chamberlain stepping up and reaching the levels he reached 2 or 3 years ago before his big injury. Harvey Elliott, possibly becoming the player that we hope he can be when he gets back fit again. Curtis Jones, maybe, is he going to step up? Is Tyler Morton going to step up and be a player? We're sort of just waiting for one of them to grab their chance and show us what a good player they can be. And I'd rather one of them did that than we go out and spend a load of money on another gamble signing. I think there's enough there to, one of them just needs to grab the chance a little bit.
What gets me at the minute, Paddy, is so yesterday we played against Chelsea. We had the 3-man midfield to their 2-man midfield. And if you think about Liverpool midfields under Jurgen Klopp, one thing that we know is always there is effort, distance covered, running, pressing. And even with the extra man in midfield yesterday, we were overrun by a 2-man midfield. So that's why I'm wondering if maybe Father Time is starting to catch up and maybe those legs are still willing, but not really as able.
Well, I thought, in terms of the midfield yesterday, I thought the worst midfielder was Henderson. I thought he was awful. I thought he had a horrible game. But that's not like that. I don't think that can happen. He's still a great player, and as Steve said, I don't think there's any danger of him being cast aside. But I think games like that, I kind of, I know people are going to be like, oh, here we go. But it makes me miss Gini Wijnaldum. His availability is just his bog standardness of being, you know what I mean, just being there. And Milner, I think there's only so much you can do with Milner. He's a great worker, and he was all right yesterday. But I don't get inspired by Milner starting in the team. It's always very, meh, and I just think yesterday absolutely overrun by Kovacic and Kante and Chelsea's midfield.
I understood when I seen the team.
But would Wijnaldum have what we were short of? I felt what we were short of in the midfield yesterday was a ability to pick a pass, to get beyond the forward players, to break the lines, to kind of create something, or look like they could score a goal in the same way that Mason Mount does for Chelsea. Maybe I don't think Gini Wijnaldum would have done that. He played often the midfield that he was part of was exactly what it was yesterday, like really functional, really hardworking. And actually it's guys like Oxlade-Chamberlain, guys like Naby Keita, Thiago can pick a pass. Oxlade-Chamberlain will get beyond the forwards. He'll make something happen, even if he's not at it for 90 minutes. He's much more likely to score you a goal than any of those midfielders. And I just I was kind of like you. I think I felt like the Milner selection, while I could understand it, and that's often the kind of default going back to those hard workers, isn't it? But it was just a bit, yeah.
And when I see Milner's name on the team sheet, I understood it. I understood what was the plan there, because with no Klopp there, as Steve said earlier on, want the leaders on the pitch, and I think he was there to maybe offer some help then the left-hand side, Mane, and to Costas. But I think what Paddy touched on as well earlier on, it was most disappointing to see the lack of impact from the bench when Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain came on, because I don't feel we improved in any way when they came on, Paddy.
No, not at all. As soon as I seen Ox coming on for Jota, that was a concession of there was no hope. At one point, I had no hope we'd score a goal once he came on, and at one point there was only one attacker on the pitch with Mo Salah, and he was isolated out in the right. I don't know what people were expecting, but yeah, the subs were really poor. But then again, it's kind of what we have at the moment. We're struggling with the COVID stuff and the injuries, and let's not forget if we had a fully fit team, we wouldn't be in such a poor position in terms of selection. But yeah, the subs yesterday were really, really poor. Taking off Jota is baffling. He didn't have his best game, but he still has that nous to nick a goal from anywhere. He can take a chance even if he's playing poor. And that's why I would have kept him on.
This is kind of where I am, and this is leading into something. So for me, Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and Thiago, I don't think we can afford to carry the three of them in the squad. I just don't. Between injuries and lack of availability or lack of form. So when I seen a story today, Steve, and you've probably seen this yourself, massive pinch of salt because it comes from El Nacional, but there's another link to Naby Keita being linked with a move away. Barcelona apparently interested at this time. I have to say, I'm not against the idea of it, Steve. It's so hard because I want to love him, and I do love him when he comes on and plays well. But I also don't think we can carry, along with Henderson, like we spoke about, and Milner. I just think there needs to be a bit of, and this is where I get where Paddy was going on about Gini Wijnaldum, a little bit of consistency, a little bit of always available. And to be fair to Oxlade-Chamberlain this season, he has been fit, so I can't label that on him, but his performances haven't been flamboyant enough.
Yeah, and Naby Keita's he's just a little tease, isn't he? He keeps us interested just enough. Everybody who watches him knows how good he is, ability wise, and how good he can be. And if we let him go, it wouldn't surprise me, for him to be exactly the player that we know he can be somewhere else. Just often a fit of a player or a fit of a team or a little bit of a run with fitness, or he seems like quite a confidence player, doesn't he? He seems like when he comes in, he needs 5 or 6 games to get up to speed, whereas someone like Fabinho, you just drop him in after 2 months out and he's a 10 out of 10. Whereas Naby Keita, it feels like you need to ease him in a little bit. He needs 4 or 5 games to get into his rhythm, and then you might see. But the number of times that he's had that 5, 6, 7, 8 game run, it's really rare for whatever reason, selection or injury or internationals or whatever it might be. He's just frustrated everyone. And I think imagine if we're feeling that like this, imagine what Jurgen Klopp and the coaches are feeling, because they must see it. I bet they see it every day in training. I bet in 5-a-sides, I bet he's outstanding. And then he can't quite transfer it onto the pitch. And I wouldn't be in any rush to sell him, if I'm being honest. I don't think. What would we get for him? Half the money we paid for him, maybe.
Well, in this article, Paddy, it's also suggested Bayern Munich, West Ham, AC Milan, and Roma have all been credited with interest. And add to that, previously, I think I remember some vague interest from Leicester. And the reasons that the one, Paddy, for Barcelona interests me is, where I'm going with this, don't you? A certain Dutchman, a certain 24-year-old at Barcelona that they're looking to move on.
For me, I have not lost hope in Naby Keita. I still love him. I think he is so good. I still have hope that he'll overcome this injury hoodoo. I think if all our midfielders are fit, he's a part of our best midfield. He should be. I think he's so good, and he was unreal this season before his little injury. So I wouldn't want to sell him. And as Steve said, what would you get for him? Like, there's no point in selling him really, because you're going to make a loss on him anyway. So I'd nearly rather keep him, let him down his contract, and if by then he still hasn't done it, then maybe we let him go. Obviously, De Jong would be a nice.
I think got 18 months left on his contract.
Yeah, I'd say give him that 18 months, and if he proves to get fit again, give him a new contract. If not, you just let him go. But like, there's no, but you're going to lose like over half the money anyway. And De Jong, as we discussed De Jong before, like I think his wages are just too astronomical to ever dream of him come to Liverpool. Like, but I just love
They're
Naby.
high, yeah.
I'd feel bad. I wouldn't want to sell him. If I'd sell Ox 10 times quicker than I'd sell Naby for sure.
I wouldn't be rushing to sell either of the. You know how long have we whinged about like having a weak squad, and then we're even talking about selling.
I just think we need a bit
good
more
international
youth in
footballers.
midfield.
I just don't see the point. I just don't see. Yeah, I don't see the issue. One of the issues comes back to, what I've said to you, a lot of times before, Craig. When the team is absolutely motoring, and you can chuck an Oxlade-Chamberlain or a Naby Keita in, they look brilliant because they're playing in a team that's motoring. What they haven't done very well, and what I don't know if they are able to do, is come in and get a team going that's not playing well. And that's what we were hoping for yesterday, wasn't it? It didn't really happen. But I think that the opposite was true last week against Leicester in the League Cup game. Naby Keita came on and he was absolutely fantastic. So we've got to give him his dues for that. I'm with Paddy. I think there's a really good player in there somewhere. It's not worked out for him yet, but I think I've seen enough to think that he's worth persevering with.
Absolutely.
So we had a conversation a few minutes ago. We spoke about the midfield, and on paper it looking like we're not short. So it looking like we've got a stacked amount. But then again, we still always have this problem about not being able to field a consistent 3 midfielders since maybe Gini has moved on, or since the season where we had Fabinho, Henderson, Gini in there. So that's where I'm getting at with this. I kind of just feel like we need to get back to that day with the
Gini's
midfield.
Gini's your 50 game a season man, isn't he? Season in, season out. And I guess that's even Henderson's not that anymore, is he? He picks up knocks left, right, and centre. I think it's more the blend of the midfield than it is the actual, consistency of the selection. I think it's just yesterday it felt like it was just we're going to dig in and outwork you in the midfield. Actually, it didn't really work out that way. But I want to see what I think you've always got to have either a Thiago or a Keita or a Harvey Elliott or someone that's going to do something a bit different. Because I don't really, when you play in the really good teams, it's not enough to have 3 in the midfield who just win the ball back and then give it to the forwards. It's just not enough to do that. So that's fine actually that's the selection you'd have wanted to control the game, which we didn't even do yesterday either. But it's just not enough to have that. I think you need someone that's going to get beyond, that's going to create a goal. None of them, they won't create a goal, will they? Any of them?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel really deflated, and I don't know why. Because as you said, Steve, a point away at Stamford Bridge is definitely not a bad result at any time. So I think we just all know what we're up against in the back of our minds with regards to the Premier League and the sheer caliber of squad that Manchester City have assembled. Here's a story, Paddy, that might make you laugh, because I do like these transfer rumours, but Juventus are eyeing up a move to sign Divock Origi this month, according to Gazzetta dello Sport. Now, if there's one thing we cannot afford to do this month, Paddy, it's get rid of any forwards.
Yeah, I feel like in windows gone by, any other window ever, there might be you'd let him leave, but there's not a chance. Although I'd love to see that for him. It'd be a great move for him. Divock Origi is a fantastic player when he gets going. He's rarely let us down. He's always been good for a goal, hasn't he? Like, unfortunately, he'll never start for us, but no, we can't let him go. I'm worried about this. I know it's only like 2 games in the league, but we have a couple of games to play without the African lads, and I'm worried about what our front three is going to look like, because Origi's not even available. Minamino's not available. It's going to be a dodgy old few games.
On the face of it, Steve, it does sound mad to sell Divock, but not if there is someone that Klopp has in mind for maybe a realistic sum of money that he feels could come in. But they do seem to rate Divock very highly, the coaches at the club.
I just think that I've said to you before, and I go back to the point I made a few minutes ago, that he's a perfect substitute, because he doesn't win, he doesn't kick up a fuss when he's not playing. He knows he's not as good as the guys who are starting. But when he comes in and he plays 10, 15, 20 minutes, if he's coming into a good team, we saw last year the team was all over the shop, and he looked terrible because he wasn't stepping into a winning team. When he steps into a winning team like he did in the Champions League winning season, the league winning season, he looks like a more than adequate option. And yeah, I'm with Paddy. I don't see. It would just be bonkers to sell him unless there's someone else coming in, because unless he's making a real fuss, unless he's kicking up a stink about wanting to leave, unless there's a really good option for him or whatever. It would be absolute unless they've got their eye on someone this window, which going back through the last 4 or 5 years would seem highly unlikely to me.
Yeah, it seemed very unlikely to me as well, and it is unfortunate, Paddy, isn't it? Because we're speaking about a time now where the lads are off of the AFCON, and we want Minamino, we want Origi to step up. Minamino is close to being back, I think. I think he's training now. He should be back soon. The Divock thing has been a bit surprising, though, because it was kind of played down as just a little minor thing at first, but it's dragging out a little bit now, Paddy.
Yeah, it's just typical that the one time of the year we need these lads fit. It's a strange one. The Origi one is strange because, as I said, it started off as a little minor thing, and when there's no kind of news on when he'll actually be back, and we're really going to need him, especially with those Arsenal games. I really want to now. I think the importance of the Carabao Cup has gone up tenfold now with the last couple of results, because I really want to win a trophy, and the confidence that will instill into the group is paramount as well, because you've no idea what that'll do for their mentality just to win something like nice little boost. So yeah, it's a word. I don't know the story with the Origi one and the Minamino one. With the Origi in particular, I don't know. There seems to be no news about it.
Yeah, it's been strange, Steve, hasn't it? It's been the club do this though. They give us tiny bits of information about injuries, and then we hear nothing.
It is actually interesting. The Arsenal games is actually a really interesting spanner in the works, isn't it? In this period, because you'd want to be giving the big lads a bit of time off and giving the youngsters a chance. Well, actually, it's a bit of not an audition, but like this whole period, there's a massive chance for some of these players, isn't it? Minamino, honestly, I hope someone's got hold of him by the collar and said, yeah, "This is it. This is your moment." What a chance if he stars in the 2 league games while Mane and Salah are away, and then he stars in the Carabao Cup as well. All of a sudden, he's another one, because there's a player in there somewhere, isn't it? We saw it in the Champions League when we played against him. He looked a really good player. So, he might be the sort that give him 4 or 5 games and actually give him a bit of confidence. What a chance for him. So, Cade Gordon's another one. I'd love to see him get, on the bench for a couple of Premier League games as well, to see what he can do, because the games that I've seen of him, he looks fantastic as well. So, obviously we're going to miss Mane and Salah. It goes without saying. But if we can, somehow cobble together, COVID permitting, a Jota, Firmino, and Minamino, or a Jota, Firmino, and Oxlade-Chamberlain, or it doesn't sound too bad to me. I know we're missing who we're missing, but it doesn't sound too bad. It's Brentford and what's the other game?
Palace.
Yeah. So we could have harder games. It could be worse.
True. How did you feel yesterday seeing Pep Lijnders taking the press conferences and doing the coach? I'm just wondering, Paddy, was this a little snippet into our future here?
Yeah, I think the club uploaded an Instagram as well of Pep on the sidelines saying the boss. It's he gets it. He does a lot behind the scenes, and you can tell from listening to him. His football brain is magnificent. He knows the game inside out. And there's a reason Klopp loves him. He's Klopp's right hand man, and there's a real case of him hopefully staying around for when Klopp leaves. Hopefully he doesn't, obviously, but if it goes the way we think it's going to go, there's no reason why Pep Lijnders can't stick around. I'm still dreaming of the perfect scenario where Gerrard comes in, but maybe they can work together. Maybe Lijnders stays as the assistant, but maybe he'll want it, that limelight. But yeah, it was nice to see, and if he is to stay on, we'd be in good hands. I wouldn't be too worried.
Yeah, I'm always impressed by him, Steve. I'm always left smiling and enthusiastic after I hear his football brain, because it is phenomenal.
Oh, definitely. Without question. And he's he's got all the fire, hasn't he? As well. I mean, you saw him on the sideline yesterday. He was going for it. Like he was clopping a bit more, wasn't he, in terms of his energy and stuff. Yeah, I said we talked about this the other week, didn't we? You know, who in a sort of a, well, not a dream scenario, because we don't want the Klopp to leave, but in a, you know, if he was leaving, who would we want to come in? And if he carries on the way he's going and the club still develops in the way it's going and he has a leading role in it, you know, he's right up there. You'd have to do a good job to, you know, persuade me otherwise. But yeah, I mean, Gerrard is the one we all dream of, isn't he? But I don't think it's by any means a foregone conclusion.
No.
Yeah, no, not yet. Let me ask you both this. I'll start with you, Paddy, and the chat. I'd love to know what you guys think about this as well. At this point, Paddy, what makes a successful season for us with where we are now? What needs to be the goals and ambitions? Because we can say the right things about fighting for the league title and all that, but it's we're up against it in that regard. So how do we salvage this season and not be left with another one of these? Well, the lads did well, they dug in, but ultimately we feel a little bit has slipped us by.
Well, you definitely have to win something. Whether the Carabao Cup on its own is enough, no. It's a tough one because, like, we can say anything less than the Champions League or the Premier League is a failure of a season. But, you know, as we touched on before, we've only ever won the league 19 times. We've only ever won the Champions League 6 times. You know, so that would say a lot of years are failure. But I like with this group of players under Klopp, we need to be winning something, and I would say a Champions League final and a trophy would. I would be disappointed, but I wouldn't be, you know, completely unhappy. You know what I'm saying? That would be the minimum I'd want.
And for you, Steve?
It's so difficult, isn't it? Because, like, if I don't know, I don't know. I don't think it would be a disaster to finish. You know, say we finish second in the league and we reach the final of Champions League and we didn't win it, but I don't think we're talking disaster of a season. To, you know, we've got to cast our minds back, 5 or 6 years here, haven't we? This is not disaster levels of a season. We're up against some clubs with some seriously deep pockets, and that's not to give it like the little old Liverpool. Aren't we battling against these big clubs? But that's the reality of the situation, and I think. The League Cup would be fantastic, and actually the way it's shaping up now, we've got to be favourites for that, I would say. And then it's so hard to win the Champions League, isn't it? Like, it's so difficult.
You can't even you can gear up for a Premier League run, like you can set up your season for it. You can't do that with the Champions League because one red card, one mad moment, one bad 15-minute spell, and you could be gone.
This is it. So you can't kind of base whether it's been a success or a failure of a season on winning this. This tournament that we won with Jimmy Traore playing left back, and FC Porto won it, before that, and you can't. There's a lottery element to it, isn't there? The Champions League, and so. All these things would be great. I said to you before Christmas that I take the Premier League over all these things, and I'm still a long way from giving up hope on that. So, I think we could easily put 10, 12 games in a row in there easily. I know City can as well, but we easily could do that. We easily could do that. Well, no, it is a problem, and that's the reality, isn't it? Because they're so good. They are very, very, very good.
That's my big fear, is that we have one of these seasons again where, as you said, maybe a Champions League final and a Carabao Cup or whatever, but ultimately there's been so many what ifs or nears, or, we've been so close to so many things that I feel like we just need to start putting some silverware in the cupboard, or we're going to look back at this time under Jurgen Klopp with a sense of what ifs. And I don't want to look back on a generational manager who transformed the club and feel like with a couple more signings, maybe we could have really pushed on it and challenged Manchester City. Because it's tough enough, Steve, when you're already looking at a world of City existing and we're fighting with them for the league.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I know I know what you're saying about if we look back in 10 years and we haven't won any more trophies, and you look back and we say maybe we should have with this manager and this group of players. But in the same way, I don't know, Andy Murray probably would look back and say he should have won more than 2 or 3 majors or whatever. Actually, the reality was he had Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, greatest players of all time at the same time. It's not, you're not, and you wouldn't say that he was a failure, would you? Jurgen Klopp got us to the very top. We won the Champions League, we won the Premier League. I'm not saying that will do me for 10 years, but that is, that's where we wanted to be, isn't it? In his reign, and he got us there. So I don't really think. I know what you're saying, and I kind of agree to a point. But only one club can win the Champions League, one club can win the Premier League. Everyone else isn't a failure because they haven't done it. You've just been pipped by a team that is really, really, really good, and I think it doesn't take anything away from how good our team is. For me,
yeah, it's a fair point. I want to just say thank you to Doug and Happy New Year to you as well, my man. And I would absolutely take number 7 this season and the League Cup. That would, yes, I would be over the moon with that, mate. Because I started off this season, and for me, the Champions League was always my priority. Always will be. I just love the European Cup. In the window, are we expecting any business done, Steve, other than maybe Nat Phillips and maybe a couple of young lads on loan or something?
Is Paddy on board your Bellingham train, by the way? What's your Bellingham? Yeah, of course he is.
I think it'd be a marvelous signing, wouldn't it? But I think it's a while away, and it's going to cost a lot of money. But it seems like a Liverpool signing. He seems like a Liverpool player. He seems like he's destined to wear the red shirt, isn't he?
I'd love that.
See?
Love that. Yeah. But yeah, don't see it in the. There's a bunch of players available on free transfer at the end of the season, aren't there? There's an awful lot of good players.
We'll be linked to them all. Don't worry, mate. Inter, Zakaria, Kessie. My answer to this, Steve, is always the same. And I might look at this the wrong way, but I always ask myself, so Frank Kessie and these players, are we only interested in them because they're free transfers? Or would we be interested in them regardless? And if the answer is because they're free transfers, I try and caveat that by understanding it might still be a bargain, but I still feel like it's just more make-do stuff from FSG and patching over the cracks.
It could be, but you don't know. I mean, say we, what's that lad, Zakaria at Mönchengladbach? He's on a free, isn't he, this summer? And he's been touted around, coveted for an awful long time. Dembele at Barca as well. And these players know what's happening, don't they? So, a year out from their contract ending, someone says, look, Liverpool will pick you up at the end of the season on a free, don't sign a new contract. These things happen. So it's not necessarily they're on the scrap heap that nobody wants them. There's a lot going on behind the scenes in terms of contracts and stuff that people know that they can get out on a free if they give their club another season or something, as it, wherever they are. Mönchengladbach, aren't pulling up any trees in Germany. So he could easily have said, I'll give you another year. I'll give you another year and a half if you let me go on a free. These kind of things happen. So, yeah, I don't think that anyone's on a free. I don't think that just because they're on a free transfer, it means they're on the scrap heap. Then nobody wants them.
Yeah.
On the Dembele one, Paddy, would you take a chance on him?
Absolutely not. You mental. Talk about it. We have enough injury-laden players, and he is king injury. He is always injured. That poor fella is cursed. He was a great player at Dortmund. Even I think it was Rennes before he went to Dortmund, and he can be phenomenal. But no, he's a write-off. He's like a scrap car, an old car. He's time for the scrap heap. I wouldn't, not a chance. If it was free, yeah, for the crack. But he's injury prone. He is Mr. Injury prone.
Yeah, and he's not got a great behavioural record.
That is a firm no.
Yeah, firm no, absolutely. And so, unfortunately, Usman, it's not happening.
I've got one for you, Steve. I've got a name for you to debate today. Jarrod Bowen.
Well, you know what? I was thinking about Jarrod Bowen the other day. So when these links emerged at the start of the season that you'd be looking at him, it seemed like he was showing up well on the numbers. We like our stats, don't we? And he was showing up well on the numbers. And I was very, very, very underwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed, but I'm whelmed now. I'm on that train now. I think he's fantastic. Every time I've watched West Ham this season, he's been near enough man of the match. 8, 9 out of 10 every game I've seen him. he's hardworking, great left foot. He'll score you a goal, he'll create one. He's young, he's English. I don't see it. This is like a complete role reversal from, where I was 6 months or so ago.
See,
but
I would
that's a good
respectfully
point, though, isn't it?
disagree with Walter here. I'm more Bowen than Rafinha.
I like Rafinha a lot. I
do like him, but I think Bowen's more of a club player.
He's more likely, probably.
Yeah, more likely to. Yeah,
that's depressing, though, isn't it? Isn't that horrible? That's where we're at. Like, more likely.
Whereas City could go and sign both of them in 5 minutes and not even bat an eyelid.
Yeah, and not even play them that much either.
I'm trying to be happy, and then I just remember City. City just bring me down all the time. we were all fighting against the whole country of, is it Qatar or which one? No, Abu Dhabi or UAE. It's a tough, but it's just that typifies it. Bowen or Rafinha, we have to pick one, and that's more likely.
Yeah, but we've done this for years. This isn't a new thing.
Yeah.
We bought Salah because the numbers were showing up, and we bought him over. A couple of people, Julian Brandt, everyone was getting all excited about, and the numbers men went, no, this guy's good. We're getting for a good price, and that turned out all right, didn't it? So, same with Mane as well. We've done this for years, and I know that's not saying that Jarrod Bowen is going to be another Mane or Salah, but it's a formula that's not done too badly, and it's really only the last. This season would look an awful lot better if we beaten Leicester. You were talking about one or two games. This is not a disaster of a season yet.
Yeah, true.
Let's get this in perspective a little bit here. It's not.
Oh no, the season's definitely not a disaster, but the frustration is definitely real amongst the fan base now with regards to the transfer market.
Yeah, but that's nothing new, is it? I mean, okay. And the Pope's Catholic, and and all that kind of this is what it's been like for years, and this is the way it's going to be like while FSG are around. I'm afraid, and we'd love them to chuck money at it, but they're not going to. I mean, they've given us no evidence that they're going to do it so far, have they?
So, Steve, because the squad's it's getting on.
I mean, yeah, there's a rebuilding job to do at some point, isn't there, over the next 2 or 3 years? And I'm sure you'd be surprised. I would hope conversations have been had about that. Looking at players they can bring in, but the Bowens and the Rafinhas are the kind of players we're going to be signing. That's the kind of, we're not going to go and chuck 100 million at someone.
I'm happy with the Bowen or Rafinha, mate. Over the moon with that. For me, though, I think the real interest is going to be, Paddy, where who gets renewals and who gets the contracts run down, and what way we deal with those situations with the potential contract being run down. Because off the top of my head, Origi, we can trigger another year in if they want to do that. So Mane, Salah, Firmino, Keita, and I can't remember who the other one is. There's one more that's in the last 18 months.
Yeah, I mean, there has to, there's no automatic renewals for anyone apart from maybe, there has to be conversations. I said it the other day about Mane that I wouldn't be giving him a new contract, as unpopular as that may be. I feel like we need to be looking to the new age. And if we sign on these guys again, it'll be hard to free up wages for the new players, the replacements. So we need to be looking at these contract extensions with a view to who's coming in to replace them, because ultimately these people will not last forever. Mohamed Salah, give him a lifetime contract. Fabinho, Van Dijk, all these people, but certain players who haven't really performed don't necessarily deserve an automatic contract extension for past performances. We have to be smart and shrewd, and look at James Milner as an example. He was cast to the side by Man City in 2014, rootless. Too early, you could say, because he's done us a great job, but it just shows we need to be kind of rootless with some players. No sentimentality.
Is that, Steve, maybe where, and I don't know if this is going to be a chink in Klopp's armor or a bit of a weakness, but is that loyalty, that bond that he has with these guys, this type of situation, does that play against them? Does it make it more difficult to move some of these guys on? And us as fans, because we're invested emotionally in this as well.
Possibly, but I'll take the good bits, that him being loyal to his players brings, and I'll happily accept maybe someone getting a contract when they shouldn't have, because we get all the rest of the stuff as well that he brings with his energy and his passion and his loyalty. So, Yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't. It's a funny one that these lads. The ages are the problem, aren't they? The ages of all these lads are the problem, and they're going to be getting new contracts when they're 30 or 31. Firmino's 30 already, I think, isn't he?
And Steve, we know how unwilling FSG have been to renew. Like, our captain was probably a departure from the norm there. Maybe Van Dijk to some extent as well with the age bracket.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I don't really know the answer. I wouldn't be rushing to let any of them go. I think, but then again, I'm also with Paddy that when you're that age, you've got to prove that you're still doing the job. You're still right at that level, because our level is up here now. We know the level that we're at, and we can't be carrying. Bobby Firmino, I think, is a really good example. Craig, that I'm chairman and life chairman of his fan club. I love the lad. He's phenomenal. But he, over the next sort of 6 months, he has to prove that he's worth another contract. That's the reality of it, isn't it? That he's got to prove. He has to prove it. So, Luis Diaz is another one. Actually, someone's just circle up in the comment. Luis Diaz is an interesting one, because I think he's got a decent release clause, hasn't he? And he looks really good whenever I see him play. He looks a really good player.
I see Dominic Solanke when I look at him. I think they're carved out of each other.
Did you see Dominic Solanke's post at Christmas? My word! If you haven't seen it, go and look. Well, just if you haven't seen it, go and look his Instagram. Honestly, he must have got dressed in the dark. It's ridiculous.
Oh, he did. What? 18 goals. Did he?
Yeah. Not quite Calvert-Lewin-esque, but yeah, not far off.
18 and 25 he has in the championship, so he's found his level, safe to say.
Yeah.
We got 20 million for him. I still can't believe that. The money we got for him and Michael Edwards deserves a statue.
And Brad Smith as well. Unbelievable. Yeah. Bournemouth got taken to the cleaners, didn't they?
Absolutely.
Somebody else there as well, wasn't it? Or Kevin Stewart, we basically got Robbo for him.
Yeah. Stop doing that. Unreal.
These are all the engravings of Michael Edwards.
Kevin Stewart.
I don't know. Isn't still playing at Hull, is he?
I've genuinely got no idea.
I'm going to look it up. As you were, gents. You two, you guys carry on talking.
I mean, yeah.
Plays,
some of those names.
He's at Blackpool. He's at Blackpool. He's only 28.
Wow.
He joined Blackpool in the summer.
Only played 3 matches.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes, I can explain it to you, mate. Counter press. There you go. You don't need to worry about it, because Ranić will sort it all out there, Jens. Get United for you, lads.
Oh, that's a good little segue into talking about that, because that was, talking about that game. Wolves actually were really good. I was well impressed with them. Really impressed. Midfield, Moutinho and Neves look really good, and I thought I don't get this 4-2-2-2-2-2-2-2. This formation, I just don't get it. Sancho just wandering around like he had no idea where he was meant to be today. I just feel sorry for him.
This is brilliant.
I feel sorry for Jadon Sancho though. He hasn't got any idea where he's meant to be. He's meant to be inside.
How are you playing Sancho in a 2? Yeah. How are you playing a wide player in a 2?
But then second half he was left wing back. So it's just. I mean, I'm not blaming Ralph Rangnick, because I think he's a decent appointment. But my goodness, I mean, their problems are just like stacking up, aren't they? They're bringing Phil Jones back into the side.
He actually was really good today for them.
He was all right, actually. Yeah, I think Jones had a good game, in fairness. Now, his header did fall to João Moutinho, but I don't think he can really be blamed for that. I thought Jones did all right today. I mean, we spoke about our spending, lads, and United spending has been shambolic, how it's turned out. It's almost like somebody else is buying the players. I mean, I heard somebody say, and it's probably a good point, that Lukaku was clearly a Chelsea signing and not a Thomas Tuchel signing, because he just looks like and we haven't even touched on that scenario yet, which is absolutely bonkers. He still has fucking Inter Milan in his Facebook profile.
He's changed it now, I think. changed it now, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's a strange one because I'm a big fan of Lukaku. Like I was saying it yesterday on the show, like I admire him, which is ironic because he's played for Everton, he's played for United, but he's always been harshly treated, and the abuse he gets off United fans is a disgrace. But he doesn't help himself with stuff like this. It's very hard for him to get back into that Chelsea fold now. He's broken the trust there, the manager, and with a manager like Thomas Tuchel, once you break their trust, there's no guarantee he gets back in, and it's going to be a costly mistake for him. And I think it's a weird one. It's really strange because I think if I was at Chelsea, I'd be looking to sell him again already.
I think Thomas Tuchel's handled that situation magnificently. I have to say, with how he's dealt with it, saying that it wasn't a help. I think that was a very fair way of putting it. But just to get back to United, Steve, I want to just say something to you and see what your response is. Cristiano Ronaldo's problem at Manchester United.
Yeah, I think so. I said to you at the start of the season, that if I was a United fan before he came in, and I was looking at, a front three of Sancho, Greenwood, and Rashford with Bruno Fernandes pulling the strings behind him, I'd have settled for that. I'd have thought that was full of running, full of energy, full of skill, good finishes, loads of pace. And I know, they didn't get the midfielder they needed because they haven't got anything between the back four and the forwards, have they? They just got absolutely nothing. But yeah, I mean, Ronaldo, he was clearly knee-jerk, wasn't he? They were offered him at the start of the summer when he was trying to get out of Juventus, and they didn't want him, and then only came around to the idea when City was sniffing around, and great bit of business for City to sniff around and persuade United to go for it, because but it's not just Ronaldo. And bringing it back to Liverpool a little bit, and the sort of transfer thing. The reason that I have faith in the way that we do transfers is because we know exactly what we're looking for. Every transfer fits a profile on and off the pitch. Whereas United's over the last sort of ever since Fergie left, really, there's just been like scatterguns chucking money at stuff. And I get the thing that people say when they say Ronaldo's not a problem.
Not the fucking answer.
That's what I was going to say. He's not the solution either.
The thing that people say when they say it's not a problem is that he scores all these goals and stuff. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. But you're pressing. If you do press, you're pressing with 10 men. You're not. He hasn't got a particular interest in playing for the team or setting people up or working the channels or pressing the centre backs or anything like that. They'll score you 15, 20 goals a season, 25 maybe. Like guaranteed. But yeah, I don't know if he isn't the only problem, is he? But he is. He isn't an answer.
On that, United weren't struggling for goals. You know what I mean? If you were to take away the fact that it is Ronaldo and he used to play for them, and just took someone with the same ability, same whatever, they wouldn't have signed them. I think it's as simple as that. It was a PR stunt. It was for the shirt sales and all this, and I think they signed them purely to stop City signing them. I think he's as good as Ronaldo is, and whatever to Ronaldo, he has stifled the growth of players like Greenwood, and Bruno's been significantly worse since Ronaldo came, and they were really good going forward. That wasn't their problem, they had problems elsewhere in their midfield and stuff. And so, while I'd say he's not the problem, he's certainly not the solution or the answer to United's problems, and they have a long way to go. And it's a nice little thing, it's. Ronaldo coming back, blah 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 blah. Yeah, cool. And now what? And now
it's going to be an expensive headache for them, Paddy, when they don't get Champions League football this season, and he starts throwing his toys out of the pram and destabilising the dressing room.
Exactly.
And
Ronaldo in the Europa League. Ronaldo in the Europa League at Old Trafford will be the funniest thing in the world. That will be chef's kiss. He's never played a second of a second-tier European competition. If he's to do it at Old Trafford, that'll be magnificent.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ronaldo played a blinder there, Steve. I think he had no intention of going near City. I think this was played to a team.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. I think they engineered it perfectly. I think they went. Well, I was told they tried to get him back to United at the start of the summer, and United said no, and they've engineered it. I think, I think you're absolutely right, because he wouldn't fit. as this commenter just says here, he wouldn't fit in Pep's system, and any more than he would fit in our system. And I said to you when he signed for United, I think you asked me like, would you take it at Liverpool? I was absolutely not, because I don't think he would fit in our system at all, in our way of playing at all. And I think the same thing is a case for City. So yeah, I know. I'm fairly sure that's the case, and I think he's, him and his agent have played an absolute blinder. Blinder as long as he doesn't end up playing, some Slovakian team away on a Thursday night in December or something. But it's it's a bit of a mess. A bit of a mess is an understatement, isn't it? United, and it, I think we've seen from, a good man going in, a guy who knows his football, a guy who knows how to shape a club and build a club. We've seen it's not in any way going to be a quick fix for him. Whereas the flip side to that is Antonio Conte going in at Tottenham has he's absolutely turned them around, hasn't he? Like, they're running further than any team.
Yeah, they were last in that, and now they're the first. They run the most.
Well, that's easy, isn't it, to see? See the different. The same with Tuchel when he came into Chelsea. Like, good managers do, make a big impact, but they need the good players there. And I think United are, they're so short in some areas.
You're not winning the Champions League again. So let's put that nonsense to bed. With all due respect, you might get past Atleti if you can stand the 180 minutes watching that again, because I'm glad you don't have to deal with them anymore so far. That was a horrendous set of fixtures. By the way, we completed that group, but home and away, everyone destroyed them all.
I don't think they will be Atleti. I think Atleti is their nemesis, like in terms of they'll stifle them.
Get the fourth place spot then, lads. Who are you feeling right now to take? Because it's really heating up.
Spurs, absolutely Spurs.
No, Arsenal. I like Arsenal this year. I like Arsenal, yeah.
I think, but first of all, we dodged a bullet. Thank God Conte didn't go to United, because even though they're in a bad way, he would have got them a lot better. He's doing a great job at Spurs. Unbeaten in 11 games, I think, or something like that, isn't it? I think they're going to nick it, and they could get higher. I think they could get to third for sure. Chelsea could drop out. I think Spurs are a cert for the top four, but I actually wouldn't mind Arsenal getting back into it, because I don't mind Arsenal. They could definitely do it.
I don't want that particular channel having any fucking joy or anything to look forward to. Let them live in their misery.
They'll do worse the better Arsenal are,
Yeah, but you know what? They're doing. I like the way that Arsenal are doing it. They're buying good young players. They're playing with energy. They're playing with a bit of passion. I like Saka. I'd love it if we went out and got Saka. By the way, I mean that would be. He's fantastic talent. You play your right, left, your left back. Play all different positions. I think he is a phenomenal talent.
And another manager, Steve, that's not afraid to make some big calls there in Arteta.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the thing with Ronaldo, isn't it? And you've got this like young. Aubameyang's the same, similar kind of situation, really. I know there's been off-field transgressions as well, but in terms of the way he fits into a system, it's not dissimilar, because you've got all this energy buzzing around behind him: Martinelli, Saka, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, Partey. All these young, energetic players, and he's just not pulling his weight. Similar to how Ronaldo does it as well. I was thinking the other day, actually, it occurred to me that when Aubameyang was chucking his toys out the pram or doing whatever he's been doing, he would it be a terrible 6-month option to bring him into Liverpool if Arsenal don't want him?
I would like that.
I don't know. I don't know, because I haven't given it any thought, so I genuinely don't know how it feels.
It just occurs to me that the other day, Klopp knows him, obviously.
Oh my God, yeah.
And he isn't wanted at Arsenal.
He's on a pretty big wage, though, isn't he?
He'd take a wage cut.
I don't think. It just sort of seemed to make a little bit of sense to me that. If Arsenal don't want him, you bring him in on loan for 6 months, give him a chance to, earn a contract, and then buy him for probably 10, 15 million, if that.
I'd love that actually. Jeez, I never thought about that, but it just makes sense. They work together at Dortmund. If you bring him in for 6 months, he'll play. He'll be like Adebayor. We all know Adebayor when he's on loan for someone, he was unreal, and then as soon as they signed him, he was shy. But I think he'd be great. That'd be a great idea. I don't think Arsenal would be too keen on it though, because they might see us as a potential rival in the upcoming few years because they want to get up to our level. But I'd be all for that for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me just one more question before we finish up, gents, because we're talking
and you
about.
can muse on that one for tonight, and we'll come back to it.
I
tomorrow.
will. I'm really going to give this some thought. Honestly, if I offered you one of these two players, just hypothetical nonsense, but Saka or Greenwood?
Greenwood.
Oh, I like them. I like them both. Well, I'll say Saka just because you said Greenwood.
Oh, fair. Both. I think Greenwood is different. I think he's one of the most natural finishers I've ever seen. And at the young age he is already, and I think Greenwood is really, really good. Right now, Saka is the better player. He's the more not finished, but compared to him, he's the more fine-tuned player.
I'd say Greenwood. I think I'd probably say Greenwood.
Yeah, overall I'd want Greenwood. I think he's a killer in front of the goal.
Yeah, I would agree. I think both brilliant. Both really good talents, no doubt about it. But I just think Greenwood I think he's going to be wasted at United, funnily enough, with what's there at the minute.
Yeah, just the chances he's going to. I mean, it was obvious to see, wasn't it? The chances that he's going to get. He wants to play through the middle, centre forward. His other option is wide right, and they've brought in Sancho, and he would get United 25 goals, 20 goals a season probably. He's a phenomenal finisher. He works hard. He's good off his right or his left. Greenwood is too Solanke-esque. I don't know if I don't know if he's Solanke-esque, but I think he's a bit better than Solanke. But yeah, I think I love Saka's energy though. He has like infectious energy. He works hard and he buzzes around, doesn't let anything put him off. I really like him.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully with this next generation of English talent coming through, Paddy, you won't need to rob any of our players.
Yeah, I think they'll be all right for sure. So if there's anyone out there with an Irish grandmother, please contact the Football Association of Ireland. We need all the help we can get.
No, that's a good point, though. I mean, I said to you, I think a few weeks back, Craig, we've got potentially a few like real generational talents with England at the moment.
Yeah,
Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice, Mason Greenwood. People at Harvey. I chuck Harvey Elliott into that. Guys like this.
We keep forgetting about Trent because he's so young.
Trent. I mean, these guys are phenomenal footballers. They could be anything they want to be with the right clubs and the right backing. So, good times.
Look, gents, we shall leave it there for this week. Massive thank you to Mr. Steve Bland, to Mr. Paddy Murphy, to you guys for watching, and of course to our sponsors. I'm off for a week's holiday on Thursday, so I'm looking forward to that one. And I'm raging because I missed both legs of the League Cup semi-final. But Chris will step in to do the job there. Anything big coming up for you, Steve? Anything we need to know about and the world, apart from your engagement, which we've already congratulated you on, and rightly so.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. No, we're just we're trying to find venues and stuff at the moment. Amazing how
the Royal Albert Hall. Yeah.
Some places are. Well, no, because Amy's not really a wedding person. I've had to bring her up from. I'm like, I love a big wedding, so I'm like, invite everybody, and we'll have a big thing. And she's like starting from just me and you in the registry office type of thing, and we're gonna sort of meet halfway. So it's going to be a bit of negotiation. So, but it's amazing how many places are completely booked out for 2022. It makes me think like,
abroad,
buy an old barn and you make it as a wedding venue, and you can absolutely rake it in. Just.
I went to so we got married in a registry office and had the hotel meal for, I think it was 80 people at the time, the normal type thing. But I then went to my best friend's wedding in Italy, which they did for a less of a budget than ours, and it was 10 times the wedding. It was absolutely amazing.
I'm not into foreign weddings. I always whinge about foreign weddings because I just feel like the idea of a wedding isn't where it is. It's all about who's there, isn't it? And you're going to get people that can't make it. That's the problem I have with them.
Then you get people like me and Paddy that'll gate crash it. So There is that as well.
Absolutely.
I'll have
Find us at
the
the bar.
I'll have the door staff outside with your photographs, making sure that nobody passes.
You're gonna have to tell them with Chris, though. You know, you could look out for Fabio Barini lookalike. You could look out for Robert Downey Jr. lookalike.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you're gonna have all eyes peeled. But look, gents, thank you so much. Thank you to you guys. We will be back soon. Until then, have lots of fun. Thank you to Manscaped, WFM 20% off. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Take care.
Bye.
God bless.